So it's about time we do a little revisiting to the demonic beasts, 'cause we don't really have too much out for them. And I don't think I finished clearing all of Deer, at least uploaded wise. So we're going to do a full clear here. We're going to do a T1 plus Rag party, his Ragnarok waifus. They just so happen to work pretty well together. So on the first floor, phase 1, it's pretty simple. We don't have anything that we really need to worry about. There's no hidden gimmicks. It's a pretty standard, pretty easy floor. What I do like to do is push for T1 ults, because it will make finishing the color cycling floors a lot faster. You don't have to worry about sitting there and praying for the right RNG, or at least you'll do it a little less. So we'll get his ult here, and then we should be able to finish with this Yorm attack. Okay, so he does a lot more damage than I was expecting, which I should have expected it. We have Yorm passive up, so as long as you keep rotating between different characters' attacks, you know, you will keep that all stat increase. But we did make sure that we have one attack of each color, so that you can color cycle. If you attack out of order, you do get a debuff. We don't want to deal with that. I believe it is an attack seal on the first floor, so you could line that up with T1's debuff immunity, but it's not worth. If you have his ult and you do it just like that, you can one-shot phase 2. So we're heading into phase 3. Phase 3 doesn't have anything to worry about either, so we're just going to go for a pretty standard clear where it looks like we can get Scotty and Bryn ult. So both of their ults are pretty good since they are AoE heals, so if you can incorporate at least one of them into your team, you know, then it'll be pretty good for sustain. Especially Bryn. Bryn's ult hits a lot harder than Scotty's ult, so I would try to do Bryn if you can. She's been on a lot more banners just because I think she's a little older than Scotty is. So we'll have a double heal. The only issues now is we're pretty much ready to finish phase 3, but we don't have a T1 card, so we're gonna have some merges go down. Kind of hope and pray that T1 shows up, or we're kind of scuffed. Was that... No. Okay. Phase 4. Let's see it. Nice, nice. Oh, okay. Alright, so we got it. So we have Bryn ult now. So we'll start with Bryn and do the cycle this way so that we can finish with her ult. Try to have, like I said, her ults for the finisher so that you can transition with full HP. And then make sure that you color cycle correctly. And you don't have to worry about any attack seals. But that is everything for the first floor. So, I mean, floor 1's pretty simple. Just need to remember color wheel on 2 and 4. And we can jump over to floor 2. So similar to the first phase of the previous floor, don't really have too much to worry about. It's going to be relatively easy. We're going to do the same setup. We're going to push for T1 ult so that we can follow that same mindset going into phase 2 with finishing with his ult, or at least getting it in there so that we don't have to sit there and wait for the right cards as long as we would without his ults. And then make sure you can cycle through your attacks, different units as much as possible, especially if you're running Yorm, so that you can keep her passive up. That is where the all stat increase gray buff has been coming from. So that'll stack really nicely with T1 since he stacks a couple of those as well. Now I do not have a merge, and we don't want to burn the T1 card itself so that we can have a blue attack for phase 2. So I don't think this is going to kill. No, that's fine. Stalling out is okay. If you stall out through his ult, that's also fine. I don't think his ult hits very hard on phase 1, so there's not a lot we need to worry about here. Just make sure that your setup is ready and you are good to go. He has an attack buff here. We don't need to worry about stripping that since it's just attack. We're going to kill here anyways. I'll throw out this heal for T1. He's going to full heal off his ult anyways, so it's really not an issue, but I can push Yorm ults by doing this. So we will go ahead and do that. Can't even see the health bar, that's fine. Somehow lives that attack. But onto phase 2. This phase 2 is a little different than the first one. He does have a fixed damage buff, so we do need to make sure that we color cycle to break the buff, and then we can T1 ult. So we'll see that here. Every attack deals a nice flat 1 damage. We need to pay attention to that defense shield buff there in the top. It is gone once you finish the cycle. We land back on T1 for his ult, and that will take him down to about a quarter HP left. Now, depending on how you play this floor, you do need to attack out of order so that you can freeze yourself in order to dodge his 10,000% AoE attack that'll wipe you. But since we did set up T1 ults, we can actually just finish this phase within 2 turns. So he does that attack here. You can see the like spiky red attack cards. That is, one of those is going to be the massive AoE. We have Yorm ult. 1 good cycle of attacks should finish. Actually, Yorm ult by itself finishes here. So that's phase 2. Phase 3, pretty similar to the previous phase 3. There's not really any gimmicks, but he does get a lot tankier. So you can see that he does have some HP buffs there. So just like phase 3 on the last one, we're going to kind of clear this pretty standard. Just kind of attack, set up ults if we can, and try to make sure that our HP is topped up with, in this case, Brynn or Scotty's ult. So he has very weird attack RNG. I've also noticed he's spamming T1 now, which him attacking into T1 makes sense because it's color attribute advantage. But there is obviously some really awkward times where he does attack into your moves, so that's, I don't know, it's just weird. I feel like the deer is just so strangely made. Brynn comes down. We did not crit. Could have been a better heal, but I think everyone's full health anyways. And it does not look like our detonate crit at all either. He's at full gauge. Is he all ending T1 again? Yeah, he is. Okay, so we have Scotty ult. We're going to heal all this back up. Oh, he infects. Okay. I forgot about his infect. So I would try not to stay on this floor too long because of the infect. You're not going to heal very well. We're just going to throw the ult out anyways, just so that we can move on with our lives. I think we will find a way to recuperate from what little HP we lost here. We are on phase 4, just like phase 2. He does have a color wheel we need to follow. He does not have fixed damage buff, however. He just has a lot of HP, so it's sort of a combination of 3 and 4. We did set up T1 ult again, so just like phase 2, we're going to start our color wheel on blue, and we will full cycle to his ult. And I believe we were also able to set up Brynn ult for this, so we will be able to finish with a nice heal. Almost. What is that? Like a, I don't know, an 1/8? Not an 1/8. Not a lot of HP. 15% health maybe? Maybe 20. Oh, I didn't get Brynn ult. Actually, he drains, right? That was a single target drain. I wasn't actually looking. I think he single target drains for like 3 orbs. That's fine. So we're going to merge the Scotty cards so that we can get more HP back on lifesteal. Since obviously we can't use those attacks separately. So we have 2 rank 2s. Brynn's going to heal for a decent amount here. 289, that's not bad. So everyone's almost topped up, I think. So we're pretty set up for phase 3. Now, if you have a really good, solid comp, you don't really need to worry about what buffs the deer has, especially if you have Yorm. She's really good. I wouldn't worry about any of the buffs except for the ult drain buff, which I think we get on the last phase of floor 2. He drains by, I think he drains everybody by 2. So that's puts a real hindrance into setting up phases with T1's ult. So that was the only time that I would reset the passives. Other than that, they're all, you can literally almost ignore just about every single other one. Sort of like if you have Meg for Bird. You can pretty much ignore them all except the attack defense decrease debuff. I would probably reset that one too. But again, we're on phase 1. This is, again, so simple. We're going to set up T1 ult, and then we're just going to attack. The only difference is you're just so much tankier on phase 3. Or not phase 3. Floor 3, phase 1. A lot tankier, but nothing to worry about. 2 and 4 is obviously where things get spicy. We'll talk about 4 when we get there, I suppose. But we have T1 ults. Blockade comes down. He does get his ult off. Yorm's looking pretty low. But he's single targeting into T1. We don't have Yorm heal, which is okay. We're not too worried about it. We are blockaded, so we can't actually use his Bryn attack, so let's not do that. We'll use them separately, but we're going to do 3 unit attacks. Keep that Yorm passive up. Does this kill? I think with that extra detonate, it will. He's so much tankier here, it's actually crazy. And nobody's critting. Scotty crit. 1 crit. Okay. Alright. Bryn got 1 crit there too. Whatever. Hopefully Yorm doesn't die here. Phase 2, color cycle. We do have an attack for each attribute. So we're going to start on T1 and on his ult. He does not have fixed damage here. However, if you do attack out of order, you get corrosion, which is a great buff. So now we're moving that. So it eats away at you pretty heavily. So try not to attack out of order. Luckily, we did also pull that Yorm heal, so we're going to get her up a little bit. Oh, almost a kill. I wonder if it crit. Would it kill? Or does he have a damage cap? I don't remember. Very close, though. So, this phase 2, I don't think has the 10,000% attack. It's just standard attack, so we don't have to necessarily to turn phase 2 if we can't, but again, we're set up to clear through color cycle floors very fast, so it's always something you want to look out for. And I think we have double heal ult here too, so Yorm did not get focused down. Oh, we have triple ults. We are set up. Phase 3, I think he has almost like 1,000,000 HP here. He is extremely tanky. So we're gonna start with the. I'm not gonna triple bolt because I don't want the heal to go to waste. So actually, I probably should have Bryn attack. But what I like to do for phase 4 is get a gold card. Ideally Bryn's, because he is going to single target drain T1. So you can't do a gold T1, and then Scotty and Yorm just don't hit hard enough on a gold card. But I want to set up a gold card. We'll see why once phase 4 comes. Not going to use any power strikes. We do have a gold here. Or not power strikes, detonates. So we got a perfect gold. We did space out our Bryn and Scotty heals. So we are fully sustaining ourselves nicely. That unfortunately didn't crit. But it is what it is. No crits out of Yorm there either. But everyone is full health. And then that Yorm buff is still down. So we do need to kind of work with getting that back up. We have sort of extra attacks for each color, so we can get her passive back up and running. Oh, I think we actually just did last phase. So that's fine. So we're going to push T1 ult. Again. T1 ult into color cycle floors. Oh my gosh, do we kill? Nice crit. And you missed a crit. We're not killing yet. We're not moving just yet. So he doesn't drain. I don't think he drains on this phase. I'm about to see. Okay, he does drain. So it's pure luck that he doesn't drain if you set up T1 ult here. Because he does also delete the card of whoever he attacks. So not only do you lose the T1 attack if you only had one, you have no way of getting his ult back. So we did get lucky there. But again, if you can't get T1 ult, then try to get Bryn's ult instead. And her ult is going to be just as good. Hopefully these two attacks with a buff strip kill. We need a crit though. You're not critting. Okay, see, you can rely on Bryn. So strong. She did crit on that last attack. And we do also have a relic, so she is significantly more consistent than Scotty. He does have fixed damage here. He does have that HP buff here. So, starting on T1, Color Cycle, land on his ult. We're going to get him pretty low. I think this usually gets him like 3/5 of the way down. Let me see how much this T1 ult hits for. Is it going to crit? Absolutely. We have those all stat increases. Okay, so that's probably like 30% HP. And we did land on a Brynn ult. Oh, it's drained. That's why you don't want to rely on getting the ult. You want to ult at the beginning of the phase. You're not going to be able to use it again. That's also why we have the Brynn gold cards. So, he does have a revive if you get him to 20% HP or less. So, we landed on red. We have a red merge. So, this will probably do a decent enough damage to not proc revive, but also allow Brynn to kill. He's full gauge, it's gold detonate. This is probably the correct setup, especially since we were setting up with T1. We had space to do a red attack and then Brynn, because I don't think Brynn is going to one-shot. Oh wow, that's a lot of damage. Okay, 20% is a lot lower than it looks. Was it 20% or 10%? I think it was a 20% basic stat increase if he's below 10% HP. I don't know. I missed it. But that is all 3 floors. If you guys liked it, drop a thumb me. Maybe sub if you're into that. I'll see you in the next one.